Hello everyone. I'm actually gonna be in and out of the camera for this, like in front of the camera, in and out of, because there are things that I'm gonna show you in the video that are very important, and I kind of want to explain with the dolls that I'm working on and all of that. So I'm gonna be mostly behind camera for this video. But if you have any additional questions, make sure you comment below. But I'm gonna show you the dolls that I have available, etc. And I also wanted to say that I am not in any means of the word an expert at Reborn making. A lot of these answers came from people on the Bountiful Baby forum who have been doing these dolls for decades. So a lot of these beginner mistakes came from them. A few of these I had my own because I made some of these mistakes probably when I started last year. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a very important video to watch if you're thinking about painting or looking for higher quality dolls. These are some of the things to watch out for as well. Okay, so I also want to apologize for not making videos as often. This was actually my first week back to my actual job. So I've been a little bit extremely busy. I work Tuesday through Fridays. In addition to it being my senior year of college and having tons of philosophy readings to do. So yeah, I've been a little bit MIA on YouTube at least. Plus, there's been things going on in the sorry, I'm trying to focus. There's been things going on in the community with racism, with a particular sculptor. If you don't know about that, check out my Instagram where I explain everything that what she's doing is wrong. So firstly, I just wanted to talk about the dolls that I have coming up that'll be available for purchase. So this one is, you guys might have remember her. She was a custom. However, I'm trying to focus again. Sorry, my camera's being extremely annoying. There you go. So she was a custom, however, she's been done for months and months, and the lady is just not able to pay off the rest of the deposit for her. So she's just a rooted painted head, and she is available now, and I'm only asking $150 for her. You will have to buy the body for her and assemble her yourself, but I can give you a way to purchase a cheap body for her, and I will help you through the process of assembling her if you do need help. But she is $150 plus shipping, which won't be more than $10 because it's just a head. But she will come with some clothes and some accessories. She takes a full pacifier. And yeah, so she's ready. She's available for sale now. She's done, completed. I'm not doing anything or touching her. I'm not even going to assemble her. I'm just so over her. Yeah, so that was annoying. So I'm doing a new business with a fellow artist. So I finished her dolls. So she did the main skin tone, and now I'm doing the blushing and the finishing details and assembly on two dolls. So this one, who is going to be rooted, he will be available probably early next week. I'm hoping to do the back of his head today. He's a preemie size, so shouldn't take me that long. I'm planning to do the back of his head today, and then probably the front of his head tomorrow. I'm feeling ambitious. We'll see. She will not be rooted. I just don't feel like rooting her, but she will be done very soon. I just need to go over her creases to my liking and finishing her blushing and her nails. So she might be finished tonight. So that's her. So these three dolls are available now, or will be available very soon. And then this boy you see back here, he is not for sale. That is my personal Kai that I'm making. He's turning out really well, if you guys can see. He's turning out exactly how I imagined him. So he will be eventually rooted, but I'm going to enjoy him as bald for a while. But he's available. I just wanted to show you how he's coming along because he's turning out really cute. So yeah, those are the dolls that are on my table. It's very chaotic right now on my table. And then I have some kits to paint that I haven't gotten to yet, but they will be available soon, and I'll be explaining who they are very soon. But they're also pretty cool kits. One I've done before. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to show you guys them, and then now I'm going to start explaining the beginner mistakes. So here's the list. So if you want to skip ahead to any certain number, I'm going to go through them each, and you can skip around in this video to see what you would like to listen to or hear about, so you can better your work or better your understanding of how to purchase better quality dolls. So I think I'm going to switch it around, and we're going to go back to looking at me, and if I need to get an example, I'll pull out one of my work in progresses. Okay, so hopefully I will be in focus. I decided to grab Miles because he is a perfect example of a well done doll. I might move you guys in a little bit closer. I'm like under my bed. It's hard. So if I'm a little in the dark, that's why. I can move closer actually. Let me see if I'm still in focus though. If I do that. I should be. If I'm not, again, I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and get into this video. Sorry with all the introduction. So the first mistake that people tend to make, especially with Caucasian dolls, this applies to, is that the dolls will be too pale or too blue, meaning they don't put enough color on it because they're afraid to use color as a beginner artist. I had this problem with the first Caucasian doll that I did. I definitely could have added more color, more layers to her than I did, but I was just a little bit too afraid to do so. So that goes without much explanation. Too blue, meaning the baby, for lack of better terms, has too much blue paint and it looks dead. Doesn't look like a living doll. Or individual. I don't know what to refer to him as when you say living. And then along with that is blotchy. That means when they do the mottling layers, they don't do mottling correctly, and the doll just looks red and splotchy, which yes, newborns are usually splotchy, but they're not very much splotchy that it looks like the baby has a sunburn, like the doll has a sunburn. So I don't have an example here of what that means, but I have seen this many times. And that is a very common mistake, blotchy dolls. Okay, moving on. I'm trying not to go into too much detail to make this not a super long video. But wrong crease color. So creases is a big deal. Creases are very difficult for a lot of people, so it's not just beginners who have a problem with this. Creases can be the wrong color, meaning they could be too light for the skin tone. You always want the creases to be darker than the skin tone, the main skin tone. Or they could be too red on a Caucasian doll and they just look like fresh wounds, they look like cuts. They don't look like creases. For creases, you want to look at a picture of a baby, a real baby of a similar skin tone to get an idea of what the crease color should be. Dirty, grainy creases, meaning you let the paint pile up in some of the creases, but you don't really blend it out. And creases with no color. Again, another common thing that I see all the time, that people just don't paint the creases, which just looks horrible. Even in Caucasian babies, you need to paint the creases on these dolls. So, the next, number 3 is pluggy hair rooting, bad hair rooting, bad mohair, and wigs. So, pluggy means that there are far too many hairs in one hole on a head. So that means if you've got like 10 hairs per hole, your hair is going to look manufactured. It's not going to look realistic, because if you look at our hair, humans' hair is not that many strands per plug. So pluggy hair is just a common mistake where people are trying to root too fast, or they haven't done it before, or they're catching too many hairs when they are actually doing the rooting. Bad mohair is very easy to do. You want to try rooting, but you don't want to spend too much money because you might be bad at it or you're afraid, and you buy bad mohair. It doesn't matter how well the rooting is done, if the mohair is bad quality, it's going to be bad. So That's a common mistake, that people just buy the cheap mohair, and that means like the cheap mohair off for like Bountiful Baby or Dolls by Sandy. You know, that cheap mohair, the ruby red kind, that's like $10. That's bad quality mohair. If you're looking for a relatively cheap mohair that's still very good quality, I use Slumberland, and it's about $30, I think, for a half of an ounce. So it's still really cheap as far as good quality mohair goes. Wigs are usually never a good idea on smaller babies unless you get a good quality wig that looks realistic, because wigs often look terrible, especially on dolls that are smaller. Okay, so the next part is about eyebrows. This is where I'm going to actually show you some of my work and him, because eyebrows are very easy to mess up. You want your eyebrows to be in the right place, meaning they need to be along the brow ridge, not above and not below. I think a lot of people have problems finding the brow ridge, which I don't quite understand, because most kits you can feel the brow ridge where the eyebrow is supposed to go. He's not in focus, but I'm going to show you him. There we go. So most kits have a kind of built-in ridge, especially these Reborns, because they're scans of real babies, will have that little bump. So if you take your finger along the kit, you can feel the little hump where the eyebrows should sit. Now, this is like I said, this is very common. People will put the eyebrows way above, and then it just looks like ridiculous, like it's shocked or like a clown or something. Or they'll put them too low, below the brow ridge, and the baby ends up looking angry or just weird. So that's a very common mistake that people make, is placement of the brows. Another thing about eyebrows are people either do them oftentimes too thick or too thin. Again, he has perfect brows, so he's a really great example here. This is not my work, but he's just beautifully done, and his eyebrows are some of the best I've seen, painted, as far as painted eyebrows go. So people do them too thick, which is, I mean, self-explanatory. They kind of look crazy. I have trouble with doing too thick eyebrows. Sometimes it's very hard for me to figure out the balance of eyebrows, especially when I'm doing rooted eyebrows, and painted eyebrows are very hard for me. So I try to do rooted more than I do painted. And then they also do them too thin, where it just kind of looks like that early 90s look where they're overly plucked. And what you want to do for eyebrows is, again, it's very important that you look at examples of real babies, because eyebrows are going to be like that, where they're not too dark, but you can still see them. So that's important to look at photo references, especially if you're doing newborns. Eyelashes. So this is also a common, very, very common mistake that I see, that eyelashes, people put them in the wrong place. Similarly to eyebrows, people put them in the wrong place. People put eyelashes in the wrong place, even on closed-eyed dolls, where you would think it kind of is a little self-explanatory, but yet we still do have people who commonly put them, like, they'll put them in the creases on the eye and not the actual, what's called the waterline, where eyelashes go. So if you can see, his are in the proper space, in that main crease, the waterline of his eye. But some people accidentally or purposefully think they're doing it right, and they'll put it in the crease of the eyes on the eyelids, or they'll just completely put them below. Along with eyelashes go where people put the eyelashes too thick or too thin. I don't think it really matters if they're too thin, because a lot of infants don't have many visible eyelashes anyway, but too thick can become a problem because it makes them look like a doll instead of a real baby, which is not what you're going for in most cases. most cases you want to be able to see the eyelashes, but you don't want them to look like they've been just like put on with fake eyelashes. That's another pet peeve that a lot of people have, is a lot of people don't like the fake lashes because obviously they look fake. But yeah, it's all about balance. A lot of reborning is about balance and finding what works for that kit. Some kits might need more eyelashes than others. You know, it really is about finding that balance and doing what's age appropriate for that kit. So yeah, he's like a great example for all these things that you want to look out for. Paint too thick, varnish too thick. This, again, this for me, I think is the number one issue that I see happening, is that the paint itself is too thick. Meaning you can see that it, especially on Caucasian dolls, that the paint will appear to be very cakey, very chalky, and that's how you know it's too thick. And you need to do more thin layers. And once it gets too thick like that, I don't think there's any way to fix it. I think you just have to start over, which is really unfortunate. But you learn your lesson quickly that your paint was way too thick. Varnish too thick will cause a cracking appearance on the finished doll, and it's also not great look. It makes the doll look really weird. Veins too dark. That means if you're seeing like what looks like blue spider webs all over the doll, that's not usually the most realistic. You want the veins to appear like they do on real people or real babies, where it's under the skin and not sitting on top. That's something I'm still doing. It's really hard to do because blue paint is so staining. So that's very hard to do still for me. But I am definitely getting better at it, making it look like it's under skin. The last thing I want to mention is a pet peeve for me personally, is nails that are unrealistically white. So if you can see on his fingers, let me try to focus on him again. You can barely see, oh gosh, it's really not trying to focus on his nails. You can barely see the white part of his nails, which is how real fingertips look on newborns. A lot of people do the really, really white nail tips, and it's just bad. It doesn't look realistic, and it looks like they just did white fingernail polish on the dolls. I think I have an example of what I mean by too white nails, like the nail tips are just way too white, and I'm still trying to find the balance as well. Yes, here's an example of the Levi that I have. This is a Myas. His nail tips are way too white to be realistic. And let me show you them. Show you his nails, so you can have understanding. See how white they are? Nails don't look like that, especially on a baby this small. So yeah, that's the difference between too white nails and more realistic white nail tips. So that's important to notice the difference between and understand. But I think that's all I have for you guys for today. If you have any more questions or have any more things that you would like me to add or to this list or explain, please let me know in the comments below. I will be trying to respond to all the comments on this video. Usually I'll just heart a comment, but I'll try to respond to all questions on this one because it's important for people to be able to grow in this art form. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in any of the dolls I talked about in this video, please message me via either my Instagram or on my email address, which is just unireborndad@gmail.com. And I'll see you guys in the next video.